Hello, Ray Pony. This is JTH, and Super Bombs is with us here today. Anyways, oh wait, Tails, didn't you want to show these people something?
I did. $5. FYE. Brony badge.
Ow.
And like the little necklace. It's awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, today for the continuation of our pattern, we're going to be reading a Spike and Rarity shipping fanfic called Something Secret. Hold on a moment.
I found this by accident, just browsing. I haven't read it. Figured we would do it. I can't come. I am sitting back here because I'm lazy. And I don't feel like getting up.
I need to be up here so I can read this crap. I'm joking around,
Boss.
Anyways, here we go. Something Secret.
By the way, Bombs is just going to be hanging out there. He's not a brony, but you know.
Yeah, my girlfriend Angel's here too, but she's out in the living room. We're all hanging out today as bronies and a Pegasister, and just a regular person. But anyways, here we go. Something Secret. As an exhausted sigh rose to his lips as Spike pushed the final book into place upon the shelf, he stepped back and looked over the bookcases with something less than satisfaction. As the room looked about the same as it had when he'd begun, he never really understood the point of cleaning books in the first place. Well, he was happy to be finished anyway.
Who cleans books?
He trudged up to the stairs to the main floor of the library, and a frustrated huff escaping as he noticed Twilight Sparkle looking rather relaxed, her head propped over an open book, reading in the light of the window. Wow, Twilight, don't overexert yourself or anything, he grumbled. Don't worry, she replied. I've been taking regular breaks and staying properly hydrated. He rolled his eyes. Well, I finished... dusting. Good work, she absently replied. He pursed his lips and fidgeted about, his eyes darting anxiously from left to right across the room. Twilight continued to read. Yeah, so I guess I'll be off to Rarity's. See ya, as he blurted as he excitedly started towards the door. Twilight glanced at the clock as he bounded past. Isn't it a bit late in the afternoon? What about dinner? I left some extra sandwiches in the refrigerator for you, he said, turning back just for a moment as his hand touched the doorknob. We'll probably be working pretty late tonight, though, so you'll be on your own for breakfast. Twilight shook her head with a sigh. Spike, wait a minute. He froze, 1 foot over the threshold. Yeah? With a look of concern in her eyes, she hesitated, carefully considering her words. Don't you think you're visiting Rarity a bit too often? Staying for dinner? Sleeping over? She asked. Aren't you, well, afraid that you might be bothering her? He quietly let out a relieved breath before facing her again. You worry too much, Twilight, he replied. It's just a real busy time for the year is all. Lots of orders to fill, dresses to make, blah blah blah. So she needs the help. And who better for the job than the #1 assistant in all of Ponyville?
What's going on here?
She smirked.
Something's going on.
All of Ponyville, huh? He gave her a wide grin and stepped outside. And Spike tried to bug her in any other ways either. He stopped yet again and narrowed his eyes. What's that supposed to mean? I think you know exactly what I mean, Mr. Smooth, she said with a smile. If Rarity is as busy as you say, I doubt she'll appreciate the flirtations of a certain little dragon.
Derp.
He gruffly waved aside her teasing. What do you know anyway? She smiled behind her hoof as she shut the door. Oh, Spike, she said, giggling as she returned to her book. You're just too cute sometimes.
Oh boy. But yeah, seriously, what's going on?
He stood in the shadow of the boutique, his stomach tickling with butterflies and his heart beating a bit more quickly more quickly than usual as he stared up at the door. He raised his hand and with a deep breath rapped a few sharp knocks. Stepping back, he rocked anxiously on his heels as he waited, scanning the boutique with his eyes while his mind was occupied with eager thoughts of the night ahead. Having soon found himself at the door for quite long enough, and not being a particularly patient dragon, he furrowed his brow and twisted the knob again as he peered inside. Rarity, he called. It's me, Spike. Hello? He stepped through the door, only to find the boutique eerily empty. His padding footsteps left funny little echoes in the unexpected silence.
Playing League? You play RuneScape?
Yeah, he plays RuneScape.
That game went out of style like 10 years ago.
Is anyone home?
No offense.
Hello? He called out once more. Though through his confusion, he began to notice a small, subtle feeling in the back of his mind, almost as though he were being watched. With a squeak and a slam of the door locked behind him, Spike suddenly found himself captured in the grip of a fierce predator.
What?
Ah! He struggled desperately until the quiet, melodic laughter in his ear put an end to his fearful quaking. Rarity? Her snickering died down as she hugged him to her cheek. It's lovely to see you too, darling. What was that about? He huffed. His face burned with embarrassment and only grew redder as she began to nuzzle his neck.
What's going on here? What's going on here?
Just having a teensy bit of fun with my spiky wikey.
Oh boy.
Rarity's voice was light and silky, her lips brushing the skin of each word. It's been so boring waiting here by myself all day. She placed a kiss at the edge of his throat, her lips leaving a quiet wet smacking floating in the air. He nearly laughed at the ticklish feeling as, one after another, her soft kisses trailed down his neck.
What?
She shut her eyes with a smile and felt the way her lips tenderly snugging and stroking his scaly young skin. Spike could feel himself melting, hugged against her soft body, her thick, beautiful purple mane pressed between her neck and his as she lowered her head to his chest to nuzzle and kiss at his collarbone.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. It says it was teen rating, and this looks like it's turning into a clock. Hello, people, by the way. Yeah!
Rarity, don't... She made a small questioning noise as she closed her lips on the soft flesh of his shoulder and moved up once again, gently suckling his neck, pausing to delicately caress each point with her tongue. Her nose just below his ear frill, she stopped and blew a slow, cold breath down the wet trail she had left. Don't... Okay, scroll down a bit
This is
more.
probably like that one, kind of like a light clock type thing.
Maybe. With the giggle, she nipped at the corner of his jaw. Something wrong, Spike? As she moved to pull away, he placed his hand to her cheek and brought her close as he turned his head. Their lips met firm and hot against each other, drawing a delightful coo from Rarity's throat.
Okay. I thought that she was always like, I'm not into baby dragons. And now apparently they have like a secret relationship.
She's like, fuck that. Like, fuck you.
Oh, super bombs.
The kiss ended with a little pop and left Spike red in the cheeks. Don't forget to let me kiss you sometimes. She smiled as she released him and suddenly felt a bit colder being in the big empty boutique. I'm sorry, Spiky, but you're just so adorable. And it can be a bit difficult to restrain myself sometimes. He kicked at the air shyly. Aw, quit it, he mumbled.
Cuteness.
But it's true, she said with a bubbly laugh before turning around and prancing toward the kitchen. Now come along, I was just finishing the preparations for our dinner when you arrived. You can help me if you'd like.
Ah, they're having a dinner. Oh, a nice dinner in a nice palace. I can't talk like that.
Wine, dine, and fuck. Wine, dine, 69.
Oh my god!
Sometimes has it.
He only just noticed the apron tied about her shoulders. What? Dinner? Of course, what did you expect? She asked, pausing mid-trot. Well... He absently scratched his nose, unable to meet her eye. I was kind of hoping we could kiss some more. Rarity frowned and turned away with an exasperated, Sometimes I think you're only interested in me for kisses, she said, her nose in the air. What?
Not just for the kisses.
No! He rushed to her side, his hands clasping her shoulders as his mind spun about, trying to find the right words to express the depth of his feelings.
He's not just interested in you for the kisses. He's interested for you in maybe the next month, private time in the bedroom. Bombs could probably explain that better than I could.
Actually, I think this sums it up better.
What?
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Okay, continue reading like that.
Death of his feelings. That is until he heard her quiet snickering. Oh, he grumbled, you're just messing with me again. She planted a quick kiss on his forehead. Yes, I'm just messing with you.
That gave me a boner.
Rarity turned once more toward the kitchen. Don't worry, darling. There'll be plenty of time for all sorts of kisses. We have the whole evening ahead of us, after all. She went ahead of him, her wide round haunches swaying left to right as she walked, and her glistening tail bouncing with her steps. She watched from the corner of her eyes with a grin as Spike followed, trying the blah of her eyes with a grin as Spike followed, shyly trying not to stare at her rump. He gulped nervously and hoped that the night could last forever without his heart bursting from his chest. Oh, you're gonna make this great. Rudy's kitchen was no less elegant than the rest of her home, outfitted throughout with brass and finest cherrywood cabinets richly stained almost to burgundy finish. At her request, Spike began preparing the place settings, laying out the silverware just upon the table in the corner. Each piece had to be perfectly aligned, he knew, and the napkins needed to be folded to precise equilateral triangles.
Hello, Angel. Can I help you?
Hello.
We're kind of reacting to the fanfiction.
Let her be in here.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to lay on the couch.
Or do something. Sit over there.
If you want to sit over there, go ahead. Unless you want to be in our video, you're gonna have to lay on the couch. That's the only spot left for anybody in this video.
Hey, Stop popping this shit. Alright, continue reading, pal.
Yeah, see? Oh, they can't see you.
It's because she's behind your head.
That's my girlfriend, Angel.
Okay.
Alright, let's continue this. Spike, she stared, her eyes focused on the salad she was arranging leaf upon leaf upon the plate before her. Bring it to you and bring me the vinaigrette, would you? Do what? Do what? The salad dressing, darling? Oh, no problem, he announced.
The vinaigrette dressing is extremely hard to make.
As he ambled to the refrigerator. As he reached in, something caught his eye. Hey, is that some kind of fancy pudding? He asked excitedly. It's chocolate mousse, she said with a laugh as she handed her the bottle of dressing. I've never made it before, but I simply had to give it a try. I know you'll just love it. She turned back to the salad which was building. You know, I do so enjoy dinners with you, Spike. They give me a chance to be creative, she said. Her concentration evident in her face as she carefully arranged sprinkling gemstones about the plate.
How long has this secret relationship been going on? Just
Exactly.
He smiled, admiration in his eyes as he watched her work. Yeah, I like them too.
Yeah, I would like to know how long has that secret relationship been going on?
Alright, just keep quiet, please.
Yeah, let's just read.
Slowly, his warm smile began to droop. Rarity? He twiddled his thumbs a bit. Before I left, Twilight mentioned to see that I seemed to be dropping by an awful lot.
More like cuddle stick.
Oh my god.
What the fuck?
Jeez.
She stopped, the gemstone she'd been working on slowly falling back to the countertop, and breathed a heavy sigh. Well, that's no good, is it? I don't think she suspects anything, but... Rarity turned a gentle expression on her face as she lowered her head and placed a hoof softly on his cheek. Oh, darling, we can worry about that some other time. Tonight, she said as her nose touched his, it's just you and me. Daw.
What else is gonna happen tonight, I wonder?
They smiled together. The fading humid sunlight slipped into the room, a misty glow around the curtains drawn carefully across the windows. The floating trill, you sure you didn't mean to say thrill? Of a string quartet filled the air, and a soft ambience provided Rarity's record player. Oh, Rarity has a record player.
News to me.
Wow, she's got a music box now.
Record player.
Yeah, she's fucking old fashioned.
The chandeliers and brass lanterns of the boutique gave a clear, comforting light.
So do I.
And the sunset had long since passed. On a small mountain of gemstones piled higher in the corners of the boutique lay Larity, her limbs serenely stretched out, a tray of chocolate truffles and a bottle of champagne on a nearby table. Spike leaning against her belly.
Why would you want champagne?
Aw.
Champagne here.
She gently stroked his back, her hoof drifting over the facets of his heels. She noticed as he lay there, Spike would glance at her every now and again, and a somewhat uncomfortable expression on his face.
Stealing quick looks.
Is something wrong, Spiky? She asked. No, there's nothing wrong, he answered. I guess I was just thinking. About... Her glimmering blue eyes were on him, and her mane lay loose in those magnificent violet curls, looking so much like the gemstones beneath her. I was kinda wondering if I could touch your mane.
Whoa.
Well, she is pretty cool.
Is that all? She asked, humor in her voice. Well, of course you can. I don't know. I don't want to mess it up or something. She smiled, turning her head upon her outstretched foreleg with a grasp and grasped his hand with a bit of magic, coaxing his fingers to her mane. It was slick and soft and slipped through his small fingers, falling aside. A few silky strands dropped across her face. Dripped across her face as he drew his fingertips along her skin behind her ear and down along her neck. He lifted his hand again, looking lovingly into Rarity's heavy-lidded eyes, as her mane collected thickly between his fingers. Rarity sighed, stretching and luxuriating in the wonderfully gentle caress. Spike, she breathed, you don't have to ask. You don't have to ask if you want to touch me. His hand carefully worked its way down to her curls. I know.
Oh, her crotch.
He lowered a kiss to her cheek, and his eyes drew shut. His hand gently upon her chest, and her skin a warm white velvet under his palm. What?
I agree.
Keep going.
Her mouth crept toward his ear. You're so sweet, darling, she whispered. But sometimes you just have to be bold. He raised his head, questions in his eyes, and nearly gasped as he felt his hand once more caught in her magic. And I guess I will keep it down right there. She turned to the side, gemstones cascading down the pile beneath her, and led him back past her shoulder and along her flank, until he found his palm slapped hard upon her cutie mark.
Whoa!
He looked at her, the blood quickly rising from his burning face.
Damn! Spank that mare.
Are you... She nearly laughed at his shy expression. Spike just stared, his hand touching her flank. He caught his breath, gaining control of himself once again, and began to slowly trace his fingers along the side of her belly. With just a little tremble, he moved his touch gently down her body, nervously grazing her haunch, slipping a delicate stroke along the front of her thigh. With a sigh, he shut his eyes and lightly laid his brow upon her hip. His hand drifted rearward, slowly tracing down the soft, delicate surface of her rump. Now it was Rarity who melted. And okay, right there.
This is interesting.
Her cheek heavily upon her hoof as her heart quivered in her chest. His touch was so incredibly gentle, his nose pressed into her side, his breath tickling her skin as he stroked her back with one hand and slowly circled the white surface of her rump, cupping firmly 1 second and brushing tantalizingly down the back of her leg the next. She felt kisses upon her hips softly, his fingertips clutching the thick flesh of her backside.
Yeah, this is a light clap story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh my, she gasped.
More of a shipping thing.
And then he ripped up his pants and stuck his dick in her face.
Oh, Super Bumps, you are too much!
Oh my god. That was perfect. Keep reading.
Oh my god.
Keep reading.
Oh my god.
My first wife was a bitch. Then I put the fucking shit all over her goddamn fucking
Oh my god.
Super Bombs is leaving for a while. He pulled away with the start. Sorry, did my claw get you?
Derpy.
She turned on him swiftly, trapping his mouth in a fiery kiss. Hungry and wild as she drew her lips over his mouth. He froze just for a moment before joining her kiss with vigor, savoring the sounds of her heaving breaths and the wet percussion of their lips together.
Yeah.
Worried, he pulled away with a shivering sigh. Slowly leaning back, she reclined upon the pile, her hoof fondly in his hand and gazing up at him. Her face was flushed and her mane tossed carelessly upon the glittering treasure beneath her. She beckoned him up his smaller form to lie upon her chest, his hands moving in long, soft trails against her shoulders. Ugh. She lifted her chin and began to kiss at her neck. Her eyes raised to the ceiling as she slid a foreleg through her mane and released an indulgent little moan. Her other hoof drifted tenderly over his back, rubbing and fondling his tail, his scales and spine stimulating the surface of her forehoof. He caught her skin in his lips time and time again. He let his long tongue flick out over her chest and pressed his nose passionately under the base of her chin, his breathing hot on her throat as he kissed her. The feeling of his small body on hers, and the intensity of his touch, the feeling of the sounds of his sighs and hungry moans as his lips roamed around her heated flesh, they ignited a flame in her belly. Part of her almost wished someone would wish that some pony would walk in on them. Hoarse with shock and horrified eyes to watch the two of them in the throes of wicked decadence. A dirty queen and her pretty little prince.
I guess it's good way to sum it up. A dirty queen and her pretty little prince.
I guess. She flowed the champagne flute to her lips, draining the glass while he clutched her chest, his claws diggingly, enticingly into her skin. Spike, have you ever? She trailed off, gasping as he caught her tenderly between his teeth. Have you ever tasted champagne?
You what? What?
What?
He's a baby.
A glimmering mist of magic brought the bottle to her side, and another lifted him. Red in the face and curious to set him on the floor before her. She touched the neck of the bottle to her lips, and then down its cold surface, slipping down to her chin past her neck to her breast. With a smirk, she lifted the bottle, spilling the foaming wine on her chest, where she pulled out and dripped with a long rivulet.
So she's giving a minor champagne.
Exactly.
Rivulet or rivulet, I don't know how to pronounce it because I'm a fucking idiot. Along her belly. Well, she moaned. Drink up, Spike.
Oh my god.
She poured it all over her body.
That's hot.
Yeah, good one. Good one.
I guess.
He watched with wide eyes, his heart throbbing as the glittering amber liquid rolled along her tender, pearly body. Her forelegs were stretched behind her upon the bed of gems. Her mane tussled, once again, I don't know how to pronounce it because I'm a bucking idiot, about her face. Her eyes were set upon him with ravenous, lusty intensity. Spike leaned over her, his mind swimming with desire and anxiety and the heady scent of the champagne. He grasped her thighs, her hind legs splayed into the air as he to his left and right, and brought his face to her belly. She quivered when his tongue touched her, her soft pony belly trembling under his mouth as he slowly lapped up the crisp liquid.
Oh, it's a good thing Gray Racer isn't here. He'd be so jealous of her.
Yeah, well, him. No, him.
Yeah,
Spike. Rarity stretched and wriggled as he licked her. She rubbed the bottle about her chest and neck, the tingling of Spike's kisses still fresh on her skin. The heat of his tongue cut through the chill of the champagne and that poured cold over her, and her hunger only grew with every long, tender stroke. She began pouring champagne faster, a heavy stream falling down to the middle and smaller drizzles rolling chaotically over her chest. He licked and lapped and slurped wet sounds, filling the room with a mixing of echoes and the breath of her heavy breathing. She dropped a hoof slowly to her belly, softly stroking his head, and suckled and kissed her. As she watched him, his hands clutching her shivering hips, a cool red rivulet washing down her belly and into the crook of her leg, trickling slowly between her haunches. Her mind was filled with a wonderful rush of depraved, degenerate thoughts. She lifted the bottle over her face, a cold stream pouring into her mouth and over her cheeks, washing down her neck in a lavish torrent. A quick surge of magic brought Spike once more upon her chest. She kissed him, their mouths filled with the shared flood of champagne, her lips closing over his and leaving him no choice but to swallow the whole of it. She didn't relent immediately. She continued the kiss, their faces wet and dripping onto her heaving breast, until finally she backed away, pulling his tongue along her lips for just a moment. They stared into each other's eyes, their breath heavy and fast. Are you laughing at something you're looking at, or at what we're saying? Rarity, he whispered, his face flushed with love and champagne. Are you trying to seduce me?
I don't know, maybe.
She laughed and brushed her cheek against his to whisper in his ear. Maybe just a little, she said. Rarity looked at him mischievously, pulling his hand to her mouth. She looked at his fingers, sucked on them, and rolled her tongue about them. Her lusty eyes were on his nervous ones, as she drew his hand from her lips and forced it to her horn.
Okay, yeah.
Rarity! She sighed, her eyes closing as his fingertips slipped and bounced along the rolling ridges of her horn, wet and teasing.
Yeah, the horn is the most sensitive, one of the most sensitive parts of the unicorn, so...
Yeah.
Her teeth clenched, her hooves gripped his backside. She squeaked as he closed his fingers about her horn, his thumb rubbing tiny circles as he gently stroked from the base to the tip. Base to the tip, her face drew close, her mouth hovering upon his. Oh, Spike, she gasped. Oh, I love you.
Ooh.
He shut his eyes and caught her moaning lips in a firm, beautiful kiss.
Yeah. Cuteness.
Happiness.
It's not over yet.
Rarity stood at her vanity, running a silver comb smoothly through her damp mane, when Spike strode into the room, a haze of steam rolling alongside from the bathroom door. She sent him a tiny smile, watching from the corner of her eye. She took a deep breath of cool air. They skipped a whole night.
Well, it's not a cop fix, so
That's true.
if there was any, you know what?
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He stood with a thoughtful look at the edge of the bed, the sheets tucked in a square and firm about the sides. He stepped one way, then the other, trying to find the best way to approach. He finally decided to lift himself just around the pillows. Ray couldn't help but giggle a tiny bit as she watched him in the mirror, wriggling about as he slipped down into the sheets. Spike tried to put on his coolest look, propped up his elbow between the cool white linen. She smirked and laid down her comb, finally turning away from the mirror. Well, aren't we a brash young dragon, she said as she stepped forward, helping ourselves to a lady's bed uninvited. Oh wait, I guess they were cleaning up after that wine incident, so they didn't skip anything.
No. Okay.
Her makeup had been washed away, her violent mane left to fall limp beside her face. Her eyelids were left with a simple white, and her lashes, small and sparse, could just make out tiny freckles on her nose that she normally kept hidden.
Mm-hmm.
She would always say they were embarrassing and would just laugh and kiss them away. Anyway. She clicked off the lights. In the darkness she wriggled herself into the covers just as Spike had, careful to keep them taut and tucked. The firm mattress drooped ever so slightly under the weight as she found her way into the bed and pulling the two of them together, their warmth quickly filling the space between the cold sheets. In the darkness, he leaned upon her body. The blankets atop his shoulders moved aside as she slipped her hooves around him. Rarity lay with a contented smile, her mane carelessly tossed upon her pillow. For some reason, she liked to leave it down for him. The sky cast a slight, almost blue glow in the moonlight. It slipped in through the lace of the cloth and the curtains, into the darkness of the room. "It's a nice night tonight," she whispered. "Yeah. You know, I wish," she said, "I wish I had a skylight." What the fuck is a skylight?
It's like a... What is it, like a telescope type thing?
I don't know. She closed her eyes and snuggled him softly beneath her chin. "It would be so nice to watch the stars with you. Or lie together in the morning and watch the sunrise." Yeah, he buried his face in her chest and feeling the slow rise and fall of her breasts as she sighed. He said, "We could go camping." "We could go camping sometime. Then we could watch the sky." His hands gingerly stroked her back. "I guess we'd have to ask Twilight and the others to come along, though. It would probably seem too weird if it were just the two of us." She drew back just a bit, looking into his deep green eyes. "I'm sorry, Spiky. This whole thing, it must be very difficult for you." "No, I understand," he protested. "It's okay." It's okay. Spike drew a finger slowly down her back, ending at the base of her tail. She smelled of powders and soaps and lotions and hair treatments. Yes. Rarity, he asked. "Is what you were doing wrong?" Her hoof stroked up his tiny back. She kept her eyes focused on the glowing panel of the window. "I'm afraid I'm a very selfish pony," she said. I seem to have become hopelessly addicted to you." She tilted her nose just a bit and laid a gentle kiss on his forehead. "Good night, Rarity," he whispered. "Good night, Spiky." The end.
That was interesting.
Yeah, it was.
You didn't listen to the whole thing, but it was. I would consider that a light clop.
What do you think, Super Bombs?
What?
What did you think of the story?
Needed more sex.
Oh, you are too much, my friend. Anyways, we are going to be reacting to another fic soon. Until then, this is JTH.
Give me one moment. Until Zero.
Angel.
And...
Fuck.
Bombs.
and Super Bombs, and we will see you in our next video. Goodbye.